Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Here in this video, we are going to discuss where I think AMC stock is going here over the next couple of days. Now, we're also going to take a look at this article that thinks along the same lines that I do in the sense of a potential reversal trade that is already starting to happen with AMC. So we're going to get into that. We're going to look at what happened in the markets today and also talk about what could be coming tomorrow in our markets. We're going to take a look at the tradingeconomics.com/calendar, a free tool that I highly recommend each and every single one of you guys also uses for yourself. So we have AMC stock up about 3% today. As I explained in the last video, there's some very strange things that are happening in our markets today because 10-year treasury yields are up about 5.5 basis points. The S&P is slightly red. The NASDAQ is slightly green, based mostly off of stocks like ARM that, did exceptionally well today. But Russell, your small caps, are actually the big winners today, outperforming big time, up about 1%, which is pretty interesting. Even as I said in the last video, if you look at what the markets are pricing in for Fed policy today, the markets are actually expecting less rate cuts today. And small cap stocks are rocketing higher. I think that could just simply be they've been so beaten down, so down and out, so depressed, as of the last couple of weeks, really to start 2024, there's been very little participation in this market rally, this market that is so strong that keeps hitting new all-time highs. Not your average stock. Your average stock, in fact, is below its 50-day moving average. Only about 49.5% of stocks are above their 50-day moving average. If you're under your 50-day moving average in this crazy big rally we've seen in the S&P 500, and you're under your 50-day moving average, markets are not in a good place, right? 50-day moving average on the S&P sitting right here at about 475. So theoretically, for the S&P, for your market-weighted S&P to fall to its 50-day moving average, that would roughly be a decline of about 4.5% from here. Just to show you kind of how stocks have not been doing well here. Even if you look at your Bollinger Bands, you've been at the higher end range of your Bollinger Bands. And if you take a look here, your Bollinger Band suggests you should be at about 485 on the S&P 500. Now, if we take a look at NVIDIA here briefly, I want to discuss this here in this video before we kind of get into anything more specific with AMC and where I think AMC is going to go, because NVIDIA specifically will have a huge effect on our markets. Now, NVIDIA, if you actually look at the past 3 earnings with NVIDIA, you actually get the run up into earnings. You either get a gap up or you don't. 3 earnings ago, we did get a gap up. We have not gotten a gap up since, even though NVIDIA has continued to beat expectations and raise guidance and beat expectations and raise guidance over and over again. You haven't got that gap up ever since the first one. Now, you can make an argument that maybe we're due for a gap down. Maybe that does happen. In that case, you could find yourself at about 620. I'll tell you right now, though, the only thing, and I mean the only thing, that is pushing stocks to where they are right now, that is, having this outsized positive effect on our markets, is AI. It is semiconductors. It is any company that says they are AI that gets rewarded handsomely for it. It is Microsoft trading at almost a 40 times PE. It is NVIDIA that is, to their benefit, greatly benefiting from this shift to AI. But it is all of these names. It is ARM that is up 55% today. These stocks are the reason why the markets have done so well. But again, back to my point. If AI starts to roll over here, if semiconductors start to roll over, and I am more bullish on AI than the average person. I think 50 years from now, if you were to, pull a Jetsons and then time travel or Rick and Morty and time travel, 50 years into the future, you would see the world dramatically, and I mean dramatically different than it is today. It's not even going to be, the same world, I think. That's the potential of where AI could take us. You're probably going to be watching this video on glasses, and you're probably going to have a lot more information in your mind, right? Whether or not, that's something biological or whether that's just technology has gotten a lot better by that time. You're probably going to have at least a screen on at least one wall in your house. The whole thing's going to be a damn screen. There's probably going to be, if not flying cars by then, definitely cars that drive themselves that are flawless and nobody's going to die in car crashes anymore. There's probably going to be, okay, you could speculate, right? Point is, I believe in AI more than the average person, I would say, the average investor. But that don't make any sense to me. NVIDIA is a $1.7 trillion market cap company. Yes, I understand the valuation has come down. But 1.7 trillion, if NVIDIA were to rally, let's say 20%, it's going to be over a $2 trillion company coming on earnings. I don't think that's going to happen. And I think the only way you get our markets to fall at this point is if big tech and AI come down, which AI has been the main driver why big tech is where it is. AI is the main driver why Apple is where it is, where Microsoft is where it is, where Google is where it is, not to mention any other specific AI names. So this looks like FOMO to me. In fact, I know it's FOMO without a doubt. This is what you call FOMO. And that's a little bit on the scary side. Now, NVIDIA tends to, again, see its run up into earnings. It tends to sell off after earnings. Back here, even the first really good earnings that NVIDIA had, NVIDIA still, from the peak to the next day, couple day low, you were down about 8.5%. 2 earnings ago, NVIDIA went up about 10% following earnings, and then it actually fell following earnings. So from that peak, which was about $505 or so, over the next 2 or 3 weeks or so, NVIDIA actually ended up falling about 16.5%. If you want to stretch this out to, about a 2-month period, NVIDIA actually ended up falling about 22.5%. And back here, the last earnings NVIDIA had, NVIDIA actually, fell about 2.5% following earnings because you just have so high of expectations. It's insane. NVIDIA, there's really nothing NVIDIA can do at this point, I feel like, to impress investors. They would have to come out with like a $30 billion quarter, like $10 billion in profit, something crazy, issue a dividend and start buying back stock. They would have to do something insane to move higher after earnings. NVIDIA, last earnings, ended up falling about 9.5% within about 2 weeks following their last earnings, which every earnings for NVIDIA has been better than the last one. So I do think this puts and granted, any other time NVIDIA reported earnings, the stock was not over 80 on the RSI, right? Now you're at, or over 70. You were not technically overbought heading into NVIDIA's earnings. Now you're at 82. So you're definitely on the overbought side. So we'll see what happens. I know I spent a lot of time talking about NVIDIA in this video, but this is a potential risk to our broad markets and specifically to something like an AMC, because if we do start to go through a rally here and the markets start to puke because, maybe it's after NVIDIA earnings and NVIDIA earnings are great, but you just get a sell-off and AI starts to sell off, then your big tech's going to sell off. Your algorithms are going to sell off AMC stock. They're going to sell off all the stocks out there. Now, you can make an argument at that point that you could see a broadening out of our markets, that maybe you need to see AI actually come down. You need to see the FOMO stop in semiconductors and AI names to get a broadening out of our markets. You could make that argument, and I think that is a pretty valid argument as well. But I think initially, I think everything would probably sell off at least a little bit. Now, AMC stock. AMC stock broke into positive for the RSI. Now, AMC was oversold on the RSI ever since about the start of 2024. It's been a rough start to 2024 for AMC stock. The stock's dropped about 25% since the start of this year. The stock's up 3.5%, currently at $4.08 per share. If we take a look at this article, it says AMC stock oversold reversal confirmed, ready to join the trade. Following the most substantial rally since August of last year in the recent trading sessions, is now the opportune time to take a bullish stance in AMC. AMC shares recently experienced oversold conditions indicated by the RSI dropping below 30, reaching as low as 18, driven by significant selling pressure due to dilution headwinds and management's equity sale strategy. Despite the bearish trend indicated by the 50 and 100-day simple moving averages, a recent surge in AMC shares fueled by buying pressure suggests a potential reversal from oversold conditions, possibly presenting a buying opportunity. Now, for a lot of people, this would only be a trade, right? For a lot of people, this whole situation with AMC is only a trade, right? A lot of people are not in this for, a fundamental reason, and I 100% understand that. Right, that's probably the right move at this point. But with that being said, you got to go into it like, hey, this is a trade. I'm gonna give it this amount of time. I'm gonna set some stop losses. You got to do something to minimize your risk if you think this is only a trade, if you're only in this for short term. Now, I think the good news is at $4 per share, sure, could you lose 25% on your money? Of course. Could the stock fall to $3 per share? Of course. Could AMC and Adamarin raise capital? Of course. The odds that AMC falls to $3 are about the same odds as Adamarin raises capital at $4 per share, which I think are pretty dang low. It makes no sense to try to raise capital at $4 per share because you can't raise a lot of it. So I think with that being said, your odds of actually losing money here are a lot lower than they have been in the past. It's my personal opinion, not financial advice, just my opinion. It says, is it time to get bullish on AMC? Despite the pessimism surrounding AMC, indicators like the 50 and 100-day simple moving averages still depict a bearish trend, with the share price remaining notably below these averages. However, with AMC trading at $3.67 per share as of Friday, February 6th, and a 50-period simple moving average of $5.52, there's an apparent disparity between historical price behavior and the current price. This suggests an abnormal pattern about its short-term moving average leaning towards a sell signal. Conversely, a significant price drop below the 50-period SMA could present a buying opportunity, particularly if technical or fundamental indicators signal oversold conditions or an impending trend reversal. Given the recent rally in AMC's oversold status followed by a reversal, we might find ourselves amidst a potential buying window for AMC shares. This is from Bernard Zamboni with thestreet.com, and I do believe this is likely a buying opportunity for AMC stock. Now, your Bollinger Bands, at least your 20-day moving average, you found that as a little bit of resistance today, this middle line, this blue line here, at about $4.07 per share. If you can rally above that, then you're potentially going to break out to about $4.68 per share. I personally think you could break to about the 50-day moving average pretty easily. That would be about $5.48 per share. Now, February 28th is going to be the next big day. If you do see Adamarin make a commitment not to diluting shareholders, that's going to be great news. If that does not happen, potentially you're open for a little bit more downside. I don't think AMC's fundamentals are going to be great. I don't think we're going to get some great numbers there. So in that sense, you could probably end up falling at least a little bit after earnings, unless there's something really good that Adamarin does share with us. Now, let's go over the Ortex data here briefly. 12.14% short interest of free float. This continues to rise. $120 million worth of short positions currently in AMC stock. You do have 1.65 days to cover. 30.4 million shares that are currently sold short. Shares on a loan, 34.84 million. Cost to borrow, 1.1%. Utilization of about 51%. And 64 for the short score. Now, we will be having some earnings coming out right about now. Affirm, Pinterest, Cloudflare, Dexcom, Expedia, CleanSpark, Bill.com, Take-Two Interactive, Illumina, and PetsMeds that will be reporting earnings. So watch to see if they have effects on the markets. Not exactly convinced that they will, but Affirm, Pinterest, Cloudflare, those names could definitely. And then Expedia could affect your travel names. Take-Two can affect your gaming names. Illumina, well, I believe they're a software company, so that could affect software. I would have to double check on that. But yeah, think certain sectors that could be affected. And 10-year treasury yields even rising here into the close as well. Up about 6.5 basis points now, even as the markets are starting to rise into the close as well. Very freaking interesting situation we have right now. Now, if for whatever reason AMC can hold up this game, tomorrow's a good day as well for the markets, then maybe you do start to see more calls start to go into the money, less puts in the money, and that could cause some buying activity. Maybe you could be setting up for a pretty strong Friday. I wouldn't bet against that right now, as AMC has now went positive into a positive range on the RSI. I do think you could be prone for potentially a larger rally from here. Fridays can either be really good days or really bad days, historically speaking, with AMC. So let's hope for a good day. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Is AMC stock about to go through a big rally or not? Now, with NVIDIA, I actually wanted to pull this up with the Bollinger Bands. So the Bollinger Bands, when you look at this, before we go ahead and wrap this up, I was thinking about doing this, and I did not. But even to get back to the middle line, which the Bollinger Bands, if you're at or above your higher end band, you're usually pretty overbought. If you're under your low end band, which would be about 519 on NVIDIA today, you're typically oversold. If you're in the middle here, that's typically pretty normal, right? Stocks tend to always reverse back to their blue line here, their middle line here. That would suggest about 618 for NVIDIA. Around that 620 level that I was targeting, like, hey, if we are going to get a gap down, if we are going to get a move down after NVIDIA earnings, it's probably going to be about to there. Now, historically speaking, NVIDIA tends to fall, about 15% following earnings over the next week or two after earnings. That theoretically could put NVIDIA back to about 595 or so. And if you were to fall more than that, well, it could get even uglier. 20% down from here would put NVIDIA at about 562, and 25% down from here would put NVIDIA at about 526. But I don't forecast that happening. But I've been surprised before. So we'll have to see. Let me know what you think about this information down below in the comment section. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.